Okay, let's start with the prayers. Om
सदाशिवसमारम्भान् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे
वन्दे
गुरुपरम्पराम्
गुरुपरम्पराम्
सरस्वती
सरस्वती
वरदे
नमस्ते
कामरूपिणी
कामरूपिणी
विद्यारम्भं
विद्यारम्भं
करिष्यामि
करिष्यामि
सिद्धिर्भवतु
सिद्धिर्भवतु मे
मे
सदा
सदा।
ॐ
ॐ
सहना
सहनावतु
सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
भुनक्तु
सह
करवावहै
वीर्यङ्करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै।
विद्विषावहै
ॐ
शान्ति
शान्ति
शान्ति शान्तिः
शान्तिः।
वासुदेवे
वासुदेवो योगेन्द्र
योगेन्द्रं नत्वा
तत्त्वज्ञानप्रदं
मुमुक्षूणां
ताय
तत्त्वबोधो दीयते।
शिवाय.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Okay. So let's get started, and first let's discuss what we were talking about in the last class. So do you remember? Do you remember what was the discussion we had started in the last class?
Yes, after finishing the Panchikaranam, we started with Aikya Vichara.
Yes, we started with Aikya Vichara. And what was the topic under Aikya Vichara that we discussed?
We looked at the example of the mirror and the sun and the 5
Yes, we
points.
looked at the mirror and the sun example, and we tried to understand it more clearly. And just to quickly refresh your memory, some of the points were, so the mirror only borrows the light. It has no original source of light of its own. It only borrows or reflects the original sunlight. And in that process, it appears as though the mirror has its own light, but really that is not so, right? Then if we have 6 mirrors, we have 6 reflections, obviously, right? And depending on the nature of the mirror, the reflection also appears distorted. If the mirror is small and dirty, the reflection is also small and dirty. Or if the mirror is very nice and clean, reflection is also very bright. Then we cannot say that all these changes belong to the original sun. We can only say that the distortion belongs to the mirror because of the nature of the mirror. So this has to be very clear that all the distortions only belong to the mirror, never to the original sun. And then in order to see light, we require some medium, right? Just light can never be seen. So a medium is always necessary for perception. And we said that the mirror reflects light perfectly, whereas all the other objects in the world partially reflects light, but everything in the world does reflect light. Okay, we'll come back to these examples after we see this diagram again. Okay, so we saw this diagram, and in the top we have the original consciousness, the Brahman or Atma. Then now remember this. Now this diagram, remember it is only for representation purposes. You have to apply the concept mentally. Okay, it is only for understanding sake that we have this diagram. So we have original consciousness or Brahman Atma. Now in this diagram, it is given in that little circle at the top. But actually, where is Brahman?
It's everywhere.
Yes. So you have to remember that Brahman is there everywhere. Okay. So the where question does not apply to Brahman because Brahman is beyond space. So where is Brahman is actually an invalid question, because Brahman is beyond space itself. So, but for one level below that, we can say Brahman is everywhere. It is there in all the places. Now, we have on the left side the microcosm, that is the jiva, the individual, and on the right side we have the macrocosm, that is the totality, the samashti. So vyashti and samashti. And in the vyashti side we have three bodies, which is the subtle body, the gross body, the causal body, and on the right side, the samashti side, there also we have the three bodies at the macro scale. So we call them universe. So gross universe, subtle universe, and causal universe. Now, in each of these bodies acts as a reflecting medium. It behaves like a mirror. And so in each body, we will get a reflection, right? So that is why if you have 6 mirrors, we also have 6 reflections. And that is what is there in the diagram, RC1, RC2, RC3. That represents the reflection. Okay. Now, the names of these reflected consciousness, RC stands for reflected consciousness. Okay, so the name of these reflected consciousness is the reflection in the Karana Shariram, the causal body, is called Prajna. The reflection in subtle body, Sukshma Shariram, is called Taijasa. And the reflection in gross body is called Vishwa. Have you heard these names before? Prajna, Taijasa, and Vishwa?
Yes, Avasthatraya.
Yes, we have heard these names in the Avasthatrayam, right? Each one represents the, if you remember the definition in the Tattva Bodha, it said, Sthula Sharira Bhimani Vishwa Ityuchyate, right? That means the Atma, the one that is identified with Sthula Shariram, the physical body, is called as Vishwa. Here, it is the same thing. We're talking about the same thing, just using a different angle for the definition. We are saying that the reflection in the reflecting medium of gross body is called as Vishwa. So that OC reflected in the gross body RM is called Vishwa. And so on for all the others. Now on the macrocosm side, the totality side, we have again 3 more names for the 3 reflections on the macrocosm side. So the reflection in the causal universe is called Antaryami. Reflection in subtle universe is called Hiranyagarbha, and the reflection in gross universe is called as Virat. Okay, and now these three together, Prajna, Taijasa, and Vishwa. So Prajna plus Taijasa plus Vishwa is equal to Jivatma. Antaryami plus Hiranyagarbha plus Virat is called as Paramatma. Is this clear? So Jivatma is equal to Prajna plus Taijasa plus Vishwa. Paramatma, also called as Ishvara, is equal to Antaryami plus Hiranyagarbha plus Virat. Is this clear?
I have a doubt, Medhaji.
Yeah.
This I'm always confused with this RM. So the Sthula Shari.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, there's some disconnection. Yeah, so RM in the sense Sthula Prapancha means leaving my body, rest all is the medium, like the tree and the like what is the RM for?
The whole gross universe that you see, actually you're right, because the my physical body is also a part of the physical body of the universe, right?
Yes.
But if we count it that way, we will not have an equation. When the topic is Aikyam of this chapter, right? We want to do an equation. We want to prove that this side is equal to this side. So when you want to prove, you have to have two sides. Otherwise, it's difficult. How will you go about saying that this is equal to this? So for the purpose of that establishment, we have separated and we have made it into this jiva and the individual. Because technically speaking, jiva is also part of the Ishvara, right?
Yes.
Yes, but the notion is that the jiva believes that he is separate from everything. And that is why all the problems and sorrows of life, right? This is me, everything else is not me, and those things are troubling me. That is the notion. So we have to prove that that is not how it is actually. And so we have just taken the jiva's point of view that, okay, this is you, this is everything else. And now we have put an equal to sign between the two, which we are going to, establish properly. Is that clear now?
Okay, so though I am part of the RM, my body is RM, right?
Yeah.
My subtle body is also RM. So for my understanding, I'm separating me and the universe. So I say that leaving this jiva completely, rest all is RM, and then again rest all is. So I was confused. Rest all also has RC, right? Because
yes, everything has RC, but it is only for the equation sake that we have done this division. Really speaking, there's no, even in RM point of view, there's no real, separation as such.
Yeah, that's what I was confused going through the previous classes also. So everything is RM, everything is RC actually. So
yes.
we are looking at only Vyashti and Samashti way, right?
Yeah, just to prove the equation.
Okay.
Okay. Is the voice very unclear for everyone?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
unclear in parts.
Yes,
occasionally.
Medhaji, but we
Yes,
can still make
Medhaji.
out.
It's coming and going.
Okay.
Okay, Medhaji, I have a question.
Yeah.
During life, the OC permeates the Sthul, the Sukshma, and the Karan Sharir. At death, it withdraws from the Sthul Sharir, and does it stay in the Sukshma and the causal body, which is then is the Jivatma, the traveler?
No. Can it withdraw?
Not withdraw. I mean, is it there? I mean, it permeates that also.
Okay. We'll discuss the first part. Can it withdraw from the death?
No, it's all pervasive.
Okay. So what actually happens then? What is this thing we are calling death?
Death is the dropping of the Sthul Shari, which merges into the elements.
Yes. So what happens to Atma in this time? The OC.
Atma also is OC is it's where it's still pervading everything. So it's pervading the Tejas and Prajna also.
What we call death is just a separation of the Sukshma and Sthula Shariram. Nothing happens to OC. Okay, OC is
Okay,
there.
so OC is there.
Shariram also, in Sthula Shariram also, and it will continue to be there in both. It is just that these two things which were together all this time are now separate. That is all is death. Nothing happens to OC. And now the question for you is, are you Sthula Shariram or are you OC?
I'm OC.
Are you sure? That is the point.
Yeah, okay.
Because if you are OC, then there will be no tears at death. There will be no crying at death.
No, it's not the fear. I'm just asking for the placement that when when the Jivatma is traveling, obviously then OC is traveling with it.
Yes. OC doesn't travel. It's like, suppose I have a mirror in my hand and there's a reflection of the sun in that mirror, and I move this mirror, sun is traveling or mirror is traveling or reflection is
Okay, got it. Thank you.
okay, because the mirror is traveling, it appears like the reflection in the mirror is also traveling, but actually the original sun is where it is. Nothing has happened. Okay, so that is why sun and mirror, always you have to come back to that and digest that example very properly. Okay, so this is Pragnya, Taijasa and Vishwa, which is the Jivatma, and Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha and Virat, which is Paramatma. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, Medaji.
Okay, is the fluctuation very bad? Do you want me to do something and change it?
No. It's just very occasional and it's fine. It's not disruptive.
Okay, if it is manageable, we'll continue. Otherwise, I have to check.
Medaji, I have a question.
Yeah.
What is Hiranyagarbha, please?
Hiranyagarbha is the reflection of original consciousness in the subtle universe, in the Sukshma Prapancha.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Just give me a moment. I'll see if it can change something and then we'll try again. All right. So now you tell me. I'll ask you different points. You tell me. What is RC1? Can you hear me?
Reflected consciousness of the causal body.
Causal body.
Yes. And then what is RM6?
Reflective consciousness in Virat. In the
No,
school.
reflected medium.
No. Medium.
Reflected medium.
medium.
Sorry, medium.
Reflecting medium. What is it?
Of the gross
Of the
universe.
original into the gross universe.
There's no original. We're talking only of RM right now.
RM6
This
is
Sthula
the
Prapancha.
reflecting medium.
The
The
Sthula
gross
Prapancha
universe.
is RM6. What is OC?
Original consciousness.
Original consciousness.
Yeah,
Brahman.
what is that? Brahman.
Brahman.
Okay. What is RM2?
It's the subtle body.
Subtle
The subtle body.
Subtle body of the physical body.
Jiva.
Of the Jiva. Subtle body of the Jiva. What is the relationship between RM2 and RM3?
Both are of the Jivatma.
Okay, both belong to Jivatma. How do they interact with each other? First of all, what is RM2 and RM3?
The subtle body and the gross body.
Okay, subtle body, gross body. So is there any interaction between them or connection between them?
The subtle
Yes.
body
RM
functions through the gross body.
The gross
But
body
RM
is
alone-
the instrument which reflects the subtle instruments.
But no, RM can't interact on its own. It needs RC.
Okay, it needs RC. Fine. Then what is the connection between subtle body and the gross body? Fine. Let us say they both have OC, the backing of OC. So we're talking about RC basically. What is the connection between RC2 and RC3?
I think the gross body cannot function without subtle body. Is it so?
Yes, very good. So the
Needs
gross
the
body
prana.
cannot operate without the subtle body. The moment the subtle body leaves, we call that as death, right? And we call that as a dead body, right? What gives life to the gross body is this subtle body. Is this connection clear between them? Okay. This has to be, all these terms, what are all these things? That has to be very clearly understood. This is not just a diagram. You have to understand beyond the diagram. Okay. All right. So then now tell me, if I have to put this Vishwa into equation terms, if I have to put equal to something plus something, what will it be?
Pragna plus
Equal to Sukshma Sharir plus Karan Sharir.
Okay, I'll give you a hint.
Can
There are
you-
two things.
Can you
Something
repeat the
plus
question?
something.
Pragna plus Tejasa.
No, nobody?
OC plus R3, RC3.
RM1 plus RM2 plus RM3.
I've given you the hint. There are only two things.
OC plus
Pragna plus
RC3.
Karana
It's
Sharira
RM plus OC.
So
OC
Sukshma
plus
Sharira
RM3.
is Vishwa.
Very good. OC plus RM3
Yes.
plus RM3. Can someone explain why this is the correct answer?
Because it is the reflected consciousness in the gross body, which is the original consciousness plus the reflecting medium
Very
in the
good.
gross body.
Very good. So the Vishwa is nothing but RC3. Remember that Vishwa, what we are calling, is just RC3. Okay. And any RC, reflected consciousness, just like the mirror. If you want a reflection in the mirror, what are the two things you need?
OC plus RM.
Source of light and the
You need
reflecting
the original
object.
sun, you need the original sun, and you need the mirror, and then only you'll get the reflection, right? That sun plus this mirror is equal to the reflection. Do you understand and agree with this?
Yes.
Yes.
That is how you get a reflection, right? You need the original thing, you need the mirror, and that is how you get the reflection. It's the same over here. What we are calling Vishwa is nothing but a reflection. Reflection needs two things. It needs OC, which is the original consciousness, and it needs RM, which is the reflecting medium. And in this case, the reflecting medium happens to be the gross body. So what about Taijasa then? In the same way, if I have to give the equation,
OC plus RM2.
OC plus RM2. Pragnya is
OC plus RM1.
OC plus RM1. What is RM1?
It's the causal body.
It's the causal body. So the reflection in the causal body is Pragnya. Is this little more clearer for everyone now?
Yes. But then, Medhaji, but we need I'm a bit confused. How can we put only RM3, but for the Vishwa to act, we need RC1 and RC2?
We are not talking about the acting. We are just looking at the different components that we have. Finally, when you need the body to work, everything has to come together.
That's right.
We're not talking about only the body. When that you are talking about the Jivatma. When you have to tell Jivatma, what is the equation for Jivatma? There will be 4 things. This plus this plus this plus this. 4 things are there. What are they?
OC plus RM1
Arada
plus
Shariram
RM2
plus
plus RM3.
Sthula and Sukshma Shariram.
It will be OC plus RM1 plus RM2 plus RM3 when we talk about Jiva. Is this clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Another way of writing the same equation, this time with only 3 entities. Then how do you tell?
RC plus RM.
No. There's no such
RC1 plus RC2 plus RC3.
RC1 plus RC2 plus RC3. That is another way of talking about the same Jivatma. Okay, so that is what mirror the sun has to be very clearly understood. Then this will make sense a lot more. Then once that is clear, then you can take it a little beyond what is in the diagram or what is in these equations and try to understand. So I think the big confusion is what exactly is RC? How exactly does OC, the Atma, reflect in the body, right? What do you mean by a reflection of OC in the body? We are just talking
Yeah, Meghaji, I'm sorry I'm disturbing you right now. There is a noise and I can't hear it properly.
Everyone has the noise?
Yes.
There is some background noise.
Yes. Bartan
And
ki
So
awaaz.
everybody can keep on mute.
And I believe when somebody is giving one example, one should talk one by one because सब बोलते हैं कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. Everything is getting like it's.
Okay. We'll go on mute and then we will finish the explanation and then come back to the questions later. Okay. So we have to understand first what is RC1, 2, and 3. I think the confusion is what are these things exactly? If I tell physical body, you know what is physical body. If I tell subtle body, to an extent, you know even what is subtle body. But what is the reflection of consciousness in that? That may be the question. So in the sun, the mirror and the reflected sun example, it is very clear that you get a miniature sun or like the reflection of the sun, a copy of the sun in the mirror, and that is the reflection. But what is it over here? So what is the nature of this Atma? What is the Swarupa of this Atma? We have discussed that it is Satchidananda Swarupaha. Sat, Chit and Ananda. Sat is the existence principle and Chit is the consciousness principle. Ananda is the you can take it as the happiness principle or the infinite principle. Anyway, the happiness is born out of the infinite. So we'll keep the infinite principle. So then what exactly is the reflection of this Swarupa in the gross body? The reflection in the gross body is existence itself. If you have to say that thing is here, that stone is there, the isness is the existence. The very fact that it is there is existence. Okay? And everything that is there in the universe, everything that is, around us, it is all existent. Right? Do you have any question about existence itself? Does the question ever come, do I exist? Because for the question to come, do I exist? First, you have to exist. If you don't exist, the question also cannot come that do I exist? So this very existence, the fact that it is there, that is the reflection of OC in the gross body. Then what about the subtle body? The subtle body borrows the sentiency, that is the consciousness portion, and lends that consciousness. That is why the stone has only, or the stone reflects only Sat. But as a human being, we are able to reflect both Sat and Chit. Chit meaning consciousness. We are able to be sentient beings, conscious beings. Why? Because we have Sukshma Shariram, which has the potential to reflect Chit also. The stone does not have, and therefore it cannot reflect. It is like the mirror sun example again. Everything can reflect light, but only some things can reflect light more fully, more perfectly. That's why we call the mirror a complete reflecting medium, whereas every other object is a partial reflecting medium. Okay, that is how, in the same way, the subtle body can reflect Sat and Chit, and the gross body can reflect only Sat. This is how we have to understand. Okay, so this Swarupa of Atma is being reflected in the different medium. Does this mean that Atma is changing? No. Just like how the original sun does not change, the OC, that is Atman, also does not change, and whatever distortion may appear, it is all because of the reflecting medium. It is all because of the different types of bodies that are available and their natures. Based on the nature of the reflecting medium, the reflection also appears different. Okay, so on the Jivatma side, we have three bodies, the causal, subtle, and gross. On the Paramatma side, we have the three universes, the causal, subtle, and gross. And in each of them, there is a reflection of this OC. That is what we are calling as Pragnya, Taijasa, and Vishwa. And on the right side, Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha, and Virat. Now these three, this Pragnya, Taijasa, and Vishwa put together is what is called as Jivatma, and Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha, and Virat put together is what is called as Paramatma or Ishvara. Now we always believe that there is a difference between Jivatma and Paramatma, right? We always think I am different, everything else is different, and there is something else called God, which is totally different. Right? There's a triputi. Three things are there. Me, the world around me, and God. Three things. So this we call as Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Jiva is me. Jagat is the world. Ishvara is God. So now this, when we come to Advaita, that is this Advaita Vedanta, what we are studying now, the non-dualistic philosophy, this triputi, three things has to collapse, right? It cannot be Advaita if there are three. There has to be only one. So till now, we have already partially collapsed that triputi when we studied about Maya and Brahman, right? We have studied already, and we have said that what is called the world is nothing but Ishvara. So the Jagat is Ishvara. Why? Because the creation and the creator are not different things. They are the same thing, right? The creation is just a manifestation of the creator. So this we have already seen when we were talking about Brahman and Maya. So that part of the Triputi, the Jagat and Ishvara part, has collapsed already and become one. What the world we see around us is Ishvara, is God, is Paramatma. The world is God. Now there are only two things, me and God. right? Or me and the world, whichever way you want to look at it. But there are only two things. Out of three, now we have come down to two, me and God. Now, this part, the Aikyam part of Tattva Bodha, is to prove or is to establish that actually there is no me and God also. There is only one thing, that is me. You can call that God also, you can call it by any name, but what exists is only one thing. And that is what is meant by Aikyam, the unity, establishing the oneness between these two things. Okay, that is what we are trying to do right now. So there are two things, Jivatma, Paramatma. Jivatma has three bodies, and with the three bodies, the three reflections. Paramatma also has three bodies, or the much larger bodies, we can say. And in those larger bodies, we have larger reflections. Okay. Now, when you look at it just from this angle, the left side and the right side, it appears as though the equations cannot be equal, right? When you just try to compare this Jivatma, me, how can I be equal to this whole world? How can I be equal to God? The question will come, right? Because I am small, I am so limited, I have so many problems, so many flaws, I have, very limited knowledge, I have very limited powers. All these things, thoughts are there on the Jivatma side. And when you look at the Paramatma, Paramatma is vast. Paramatma is big. Paramatma has much superior powers, much superior knowledge, much superior, boundaries. Everything is much, much, much more superior. Compared to this whole creation and this Bhagwan, this whole Jagat, I am very small and inferior. So then how can we say that Jivatma is equal to Paramatma? This is a question, and it is a valid question, because when you compare superficially, they do appear different. So what should we do? How to compare these two? So the way to compare these two is not by looking at the reflections, but instead looking at OC. We have to drop the distortions brought about by the reflections and the reflecting media, and we have to look at the essential nature of both. Okay, so when you drop the mirrors on Jivatma side, or the reflecting media on Jivatma side, what is left is only OC. And when you drop all the mirrors on Paramatma side, what is left is only OC again. All the distortions, all the differences that we see between the two of them, it is only because of the reflecting medium. The distortion always belongs to the reflecting medium, never to the original. So we have to drop these. Now, can we physically drop the reflecting media? No, it's not possible, right? The body, we cannot simply throw it away and say, I'm dropping all the media. Nor can you say, I'm going to take a hammer and destroy the world because I want to drop all the RM on the Ishvara side. You can't destroy the world like that, right? So how should we drop these RM then? It has to be an intellectual dismissal. We have to intellectually dismiss the RMs, ignore the RMs, look beyond the RM, and see that what is there is only OC. Okay, this we have to do. And when we drop these distorting medium on both the sides, what remains is OC on both the sides. Now, to give you an example, how to drop this reflecting media, the reflections, how to drop all the differences brought about by reflections. Suppose you're sitting at home, okay, you're alone at home, and you're sitting in the hall, and in your hall there are 4 mirrors around you, and then you get a phone call, and somebody calls and they ask you, so who's there at home with you? What do you say?
I'm alone.
You say, I'm alone, it's just me, right? Do you say, oh, there is me and there are 4 reflections of mine in this room? Does anyone ever answer like that?
No,
No. Do you say there are 5 of us sitting here?
no.
No. What do you say? You just say, it's just me at home. You never count the reflections, right? You dismiss the reflections because they are not you. Only you are you. You are able to ignore the reflections because they are mithya. They are there, but not really there. They are there, but they are not to be counted. They are there in the sense that if you look at the reflection, you will see it, obviously. But they are mithya in the sense that they are dependently existent. That reflection in the mirror depends on you for its existence, right? And that being the case, do you count that as a separate thing? Do you treat that as a separate, independent thing? No,
No.
you don't. You dismiss it, right? Now, suppose in the mirror, you see some, there is the shape of the mirror is somewhat weird. And because of that, your reflection, your face in the mirror is somewhat distorted. Do you get worried that something has happened to my face? No.
No.
That whatever distortion you're seeing, it is because of the mirror, the picture of the mirror. And so you don't bother with it. You may just laugh at it and move on, right? You never take the reflection seriously. You never treat it as something that has, serious cause for grief or for anything. If there is some distortion in the reflection, do you cry about it? No, because it is not worth crying about, because it is mithya. It is there, but not really there, right? And you have full knowledge that nothing has actually happened to your original face. The face is as it is. It's the same thing when we talk about Brahman and the world and all these bodies and reflections. All of this reflection that we see in the world, none of this is the original. And what is the original is already perfect, already needs no improvement. It is already infinite. It is already very much there. And you are that. And not any of these reflections that you see in the world, including your own body, mind, sense complex. All of that, all of the body, mind, sense complex, all the things that we see in the world, all the interactions we have, all your other people, all your even loved ones, your husband, your wife, your parents, children, everybody, they are all mithya, all reflections. What is there is only one thing, OC, Atma. And that you are. Now don't ask, are they also Atma? Okay, they are also Atma. But not that they have a separate Atma and you have a separate Atma. It is only one Atma. You are that Atma. There is no second thing. What you are calling husband or wife or children, it is just the reflection. It is just the body. Okay? So this is the understanding. So what we have to do is to drop the distortions, drop the reflections, and what remains is only OC, the Atma. So when you try to compare the Jivatma and Paramatma from the reflecting medium side, when you try to take the bodies of yourself and of creation, obviously you're going to find a huge difference, right? You're going to find that you are small, you have very limited knowledge, limited powers. And when you look at the whole creation, creation is much bigger, it has much more intelligence, it has much more collective knowledge, collective power to do something, right? When you compare like this, obviously there is a difference. But what should we remember? That we are just comparing reflecting medium. When you try to compare your body or your subtle body with that of creation, then it is just a comparison of RM and RM. And obviously that will be different. You will find differences there. But is RM what we are? We are supposed to dismiss this RM, dismiss the reflection in that RM, and what remains is only OC. Okay? Yes. Now you can ask some questions.
Medhaji?
Yeah.
Medhaji, can I ask?
Yeah.
One question about when you were explaining the chart, you said that subtle body reflects Satanchit and the gross body reflects the Sat. What about the causal body?
Causal body, we cannot, since we have no access to it, we cannot say, but it borrows existence from Atma. Okay, it is just to show you that they, why we are having little differences or this kind of this classification. We don't really talk too much about causal body because it is not available for analysis in that way. But in any case, it is also mithya. It also borrows existence from Atma.
Thanks.
Medhaji?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any practical way to, like, is there any practice we can do to understand or to experience this?
Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam.
Okay.
Okay. So there is no experience of this. Everything that you experience is already reflected consciousness. And that is the closest you will come to experiencing Atma.
And what is the meditation like, which Rishi or like they were doing, or we are also taught a lot of meditations. Yeah.
This itself, the study itself, what you need is only two things. And only the first thing is actually an effort. You need Chitta Shuddhi. For that, you need to do some sadhanas to purify the mind. And the second thing, you need Jnanam. That's all. When the mind is ready and the Jnanam comes, it just works. You will automatically understand. But don't think that there is any experience associated with these things. Every moment of your life is the experience of OC, the closest experience you will have, which is nothing but RC. It is like the mirror and the face. You can never see your own original face. Yes? Can you?
Medhaji,
1 minute, let me finish this. So can you ever see your own original face?
no.
No. What can you see? What's the best you can do?
See the reflection.
You can see in the mirror, you can see your reflection. That's all.
Yeah.
That's the best you can do, right? Is it any use having the desire that I want to see my face somehow? You are your face. I mean, your face is there. There's no more. Why do you need to see it? You can see the reflection, and that is all. It's the same with Atma. There's no experiencing Atma. You are Atma. And every moment that you have is an experience of this reflected consciousness. What you only need now is knowledge that I am Atma. There's no further experience. So don't go down that road. It will not take you anywhere. Yes, Anjali?
Oh, Medhaji,
Anjali, you can finish first.
Thank you. So I sometimes get a bit confused between Jivatma and Jiva. So to clear that, Jivatma is the reflected consciousness, and can we say that Jiva is the reflecting medium or the distortions?
No, it's not like that. They're used interchangeably, depends on the context. Sometimes we are talking only about the reflecting medium, that is the the jada part of it, and then sometimes we are talking about the atma in association with these reflecting medium. So it depends on context. They can be used interchangeably.
Okay, but we don't refer to distortions or the reflecting medium as jiva. Like jiva is also still reflected consciousness, you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, that is confusing because then we are adding the word atma also. That makes it easy to think of it as reflected consciousness, but
No, they are same. Jiva and jivatma we use almost synonymously.
thank you so much.
Yes. Next.
Vedaji, this Paramatma is in the domain of the Maya and controlled by the three gunas or not?
Yes, what we call Maya is nothing but the RM.
Okay.
Yes.
What about the three gunas? How do they fit in here for the Paramatma?
They belong to Maya. They belong to RM.
So you mean the Godheads or Paramatma also will be subjected to three gunas?
The Paramatma, you're asking Ishvara.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was under the impression that they're beyond the three gunas.
No. If Maya is involved, they are very much subject to the three gunas. They need not, Ishvara need not be bound by the three gunas. But three gunas are available. Bondage is different and availability is different.
Thank
you.
Yes.
Meda.
Yeah.
So Maya is Jada, right? We are referring to Jada.
Yeah. RM is Jada, Maya is Jada. They're essentially the same thing.
So then Ishvara is, because of Ishvara, it's acting, the three gunas.
Because of Ishvara, what is acting?
No, so when it comes to, like, if this is the Sthula Sharira or Sukshma Sharira, everything is Jada, then how is it acting? Maya, is it, of course, OC, it's a dependent on OC. Then Ishvara, I didn't get it.
It is in Maya's nature to act or to create the world. So there is no, what do you call, separate thing or separate whatever entity. Maya, the nature of Maya is to act. It's like asking, why is this mirror small and dirty? The mirror's nature is to be small and dirty. In the same way, why does Maya act? Maya's nature is to be that way. But we have to remember that Maya is also mithya.
Om Medaji, Lata Murthy here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is the Paramatma untouched by the karmas? Like, is it only restricted to the Jivatma? Because you said they have three gunas also there, no?
Yes, Paramatma is not bound by Paramatma is the law of karma, but is not bound by karma phalam the way the Jivatma is.
Okay, so it is only for the Jivatma.
Yes.
Okay.
So Medhaji, the one who is doing Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam is the RC, and it is the reflected consciousness which understands that it is the OC.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Because RC is needed to understand that RC is OC. RC needs to dismiss RC.
Okay.
The tricky part of Vedanta. Why? Because RM cannot think independently, right? OC also does not act, cannot think. So the only one who is able to think or to understand is RC. But RC needs to understand that he is not RM, he is OC.
Mehtaji, one question, please.
Yeah.
If Ishvara is not bound by karma phala, then where is the Ekyam with the Jivatma? They are different.
Where is the what for Jivatma? I can't hear you clearly.
Ishvara is not bound by the karma phala,
Hmm.
but the Jivatma is bound by the karma phala. Then where is the action? Then they are different then. They are not bound, the Jivatma is bound. So there is a difference then.
Which part is bound? Is it OC which is bound? Is it RM which is bound? Which part of Jivatma is bound?
The RCs.
The RCs are bound, not the OC. And on Paramatma side, even RC is not bound.
So that's the difference. And how is it the same then?
They are same from OC point of view. I never said they are same from RC point of view.
Okay, and one more question. What would be an example for Hiranyagarbha?
Hiranyagarbha is the subtle universe. The entire Sukshma Prapancha, all of the subtle elements, the subtle, collection of all the subtle bodies in the whole creation, that all the Sukshma things in the universe, collectively, we call it Hiranyagarbha.
So that means Sukshma Bhutani and Sukshma Bhautikani both?
Yes.
Okay.
Medhaji, you said what we are studying is a dual Vedanta. What do you mean by that?
I didn't say dual, I said non-dual. Dual is completely opposite.
Oops. Okay, so
non-dual, Advaita. We don't see any differences. There is only one thing, that thing is Brahman, that thing is OC. There are no two separate things. More importantly, in a lot of Dvaita philosophy, there is me and there is God, and I need to reach God or I need to serve God. We don't have that because I am God. There is no second thing.
Medhaji, if you were to represent Maya in this diagram by a line, will it be horizontal line below the Brahman, or it will be a vertical line between the left side and right side?
Maya is nothing but RM. So all the RMs that you see, that is all
Maya.
Yeah.
So how did it originate? How does it come? What is the relationship with Maya and Brahman?
Maya and Brahman, we have discussed, like the pot and the clay. What is the relationship between pot and clay?
A pot is non-existent, clay is the basic of existence.
Pot is non-existent, then why do we call it a pot? If it is not there, it should not be there at all.
So it is a root of mithya, yes.
It is the nama rupa,
Okay.
name and form of the clay. It has no independent existence, no separate existence. What it has is a dependent existence. That doesn't mean that it is non-existence also.
Okay.
It is there, dependently there. It is like what we have discussed about the dream also. The dream is very much mithya. Is it there or is it not there? Is it real or is it not real? If you ask, there's no answer. When you're in the dream, it's very much real. When you wake up, you say, oh, this is a dream, it's not real. But does that mean it was never there?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I think we can stop here for today. Mini, there is a question.
Yes. Medhaji, I just wanted to know, is Ishwar and Paramatma, are they interchangeable?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also just want
Medhaji.
Yeah.
Okay, please go on. If somebody is talking.
No, I just wanted to say that today's class was really beautiful. So thank you so much, Medhaji.
Vinita ji?
Yeah, Medhaji, why do we then call it Hiranyagarbha and Brahma interchangeably? Where does that come in?
Brahma, in the Upanishads, Brahma is referred to as Hiranyagarbha.
Yeah, when you look at it in the Puranas, then Antaryami is Vishnu, and then Brahma comes from his navel is Hiranyagarbha, and then he shows his Sthul Sharir as Virat Rupa.
Those are all We are
But
not-
that is the explanation of the Puranas to the lay person. But deep inside is the
Let me ask
Vedanta.
you a question. If you say Antaryami is Vishnu,
No, this I am not saying. This is what the Puranas are explaining
how
to
to
the lay people.
how
To the
to-
lay people, this is how it is explained.
okay, but is that the explanation that we accept or understand?
No, there is nothing. It is all one.
Well, no.
All of this is Ishwar. It is all Ishwar.
No, that is the final answer. Fine, but we have to analyze, right? Why cannot we say Antaryami is Vishnu? What do we mean by that? Or rather, as per the story, from his navel, Brahmaji was born. Why is this not a valid, acceptable statement to us?
Because it's much more than that.
I need a technical answer.
क्योंकि हम लोग बार बार कह रहे हैं there is a OC original consciousness. तो हर चीज
No,
उसी से ही तो बनी.
Then
Sorry?
Vishnu gives birth. So we are not talking about original consciousness, no? Because that cannot give birth and be divided.
Because it was always there, it was never created.
Yeah, but
One basic, simple answer. When you say there was a navel to Antaryami, who is Vishnu, what does that mean? It means that this thing has a form. This Antaryami has a form.
Like an avatar.
Does causal prapancha have a form?
No,
Why?
it is the seed. It is the seed form.
It is a seed form. It is very much avyaktam. Something that is avyaktam. Can it have a navel? Can it have a nabhi? When you say nabhi, it has to be associated with the form. A formless thing cannot have nabhi. It cannot have gender. It cannot have a shape. Do you understand? Only a formed thing can have these things. But we have very clearly discussed that this causal prapancha, the karana prapancha, is very much avyaktam. It has no shape, it has no form, it has no dimensions only. So how can this thing have a nabhi? And from that nabhi, how can you have a Brahmaji? It is all for story purpose. And we accept that when it's a story. But as Vedantins, this is how we have to analyze. But the main gist of the story is what? From Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha is born, which we accept, right? From the Karana Prapancha, the Sthula Prapancha is born. From the Sthula, the Virat, the Sthula,
Sukshma.
the Sthula is born. This much we accept. Everything else is story. So we have to know what to keep, what to reject, and how we arrived at this analysis. So this is the technical analysis of this story. It cannot.
But actually, if you see Medhaji, then if you see that even the causal body, as we divide it in the prapancha, that also will come and we can destroy all that, and we are left only with original consciousness. We have to destroy that also, no?
It has to be an intellectual destruction.
Yes, intellectual destruction.
Yes.
Yeah. So but when you come to the Puranas, they are storytelling without, to appeal to the masses.
Of course.
And
But
give it to the.
we are not
yes.
listening to stories.
Yeah, no, I merely said that this is where this comes from. Yeah.
Yes, I know that. The story is not is meant to attract. It's meant to just depict. But we are not at that level. We are advanced. We are Vedanta students. So we need to use analysis and logic.
Meda ma'am, one last question. Then what is the use of this bhakti? We are again sticking to the nama rupa there. In different forms, we are doing the rituals, the pujas, the havans and other things. Does it really lead to chitta shuddhi and gnanam?
It leads to chitta shuddhi. Chitta shuddhi leads to jnanam.
Okay.
Bhakti is
So
necessary.
that is also important part of our life, is it? Bhakti.
Till you have chitta shuddhi, it is very much needed.
Okay, ma'am.
Till your jnanam process with the chitta shuddhi is complete, bhakti will take you a long way.
Okay, ma'am.
But finally, remember, even bhakti is mithya.
Okay.
Meghaji, is it something like that? OC is Brahman, Karaniya is Brahma, Sukshma is a lotus, and Kul is what world has come out from that. Is it that?
So what is
OC is original consciousness. Then OC se bane Karaniya, that is Brahma. Then navel is Sukshma, that lotus was Sukshma, and Kul is that world jo usme se nikla. Is it that? Something like that.
none of these things have form, and moreover, Brahman does not create anything. So
Okay.
no, it doesn't work that way. Okay,
Thank
let's stop here, and we have not finished this topic. We will be continuing in the next class. So you can do some more mananam, and I'll leave you with one statement from the Upanishads, from one of the Upanishads. There is a statement, since you asked about bhakti, this is an interesting statement to maybe clarify things for you or maybe confuse you more. I don't know. Okay, so the statement goes like, God is not that which you pray to. God is that which enables you to pray. Okay, that's the statement. You can do mananam on this a little bit. God is not what you pray to. God is that which enables you to pray. Okay.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful.
Awesome.
Stop, and we can continue from the next class from the same topic. Om
Purnamidam
Purnasya Purnamadaya
Purnamadaya
Shanti
Purnamevavasishyate.
Shanti Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Medaji.
Thank you, Vedaji.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Om
Vedaji.
Namah Shivaya. Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you, Meda. Thank you.
Thank you, Medaji.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.